In the mid-1970s, the Leyland Princess arrived looking less like a normal family saloon and more like a concept car that had escaped onto the road. Its sharp nose, sloping tail, and futuristic stance promised something radical. Yet the deeper you look, the stranger the story becomes. Subscribe if you love forgotten British classics. Today, we're exploring the hidden details, odd decisions, and surprising truths that made the Princess impossible to ignore. The wedge that should have been a hatchback. The strangest thing about the Leyland Princess was that it looked as if it should open from the back, but it did not. From the side, that long sloping tail seemed to promise a huge hatchback, the sort of practical feature that would have made perfect sense for British families in the late 1970s. Instead, buyers got a conventional boot lid hidden beneath one of the most modern shapes on British roads. It was a clever-looking car denied its cleverest possible trick. The benefit was a stiffer, quieter body, but the price was enormous in showroom appeal. People could see the space, yet they could not use it in the way the shape suggested. Years later, the Austin ambassador finally gave the concept a hatch, almost admitting what the Princess should have been from the beginning. Grand Prix lines on a family car. Unlike most family cars of its era, the Princess did not try to look polite, upright, or traditional. Harris Mann's wedge shape gave it a low nose, a rising waistline, and a fast-back rear that looked closer to a motor show concept than a sensible British saloon. It had the visual drama of speed, even when parked outside a suburban semi-detached house in Birmingham or Coventry. That was the trick. The shape made an ordinary family car feel futuristic without needing exotic engineering beneath every panel. It cut a cleaner, sharper profile than many rivals and helped the Princess stand out instantly in traffic. But it also created a strange emotional problem. The car looked like tomorrow, while much of British Leyland around it was still fighting yesterday's battles. 3 badges, 1 identity crisis. Before the Princess became the Princess, it arrived in 1975 wearing 3 different identities: Austin, Morris, and Wolseley. That was not just badge engineering, it was a rolling sign of confusion inside British Leyland. The same basic car had to satisfy different dealer networks, different customer loyalties, and the ghosts of old British marques that no longer had clear roles. For buyers, the result was oddly fascinating, but also slightly bewildering. Was it a modern Austin, a more conservative Morris, or a dignified Wolseley successor? Within months, British Leyland swept the names away and turned the car into simply the Princess. The practical aim was to simplify the range, but emotionally it felt like a brand identity crisis happening in public. The car had barely begun its life before it was already being renamed. Citroën Comfort, British Leyland Execution. One of the most distinctive features of the Princess was not the wedge body, but the way it floated down the road. Its Hydragas suspension, developed from Dr. Alex Moulton's thinking, used interconnected fluid and gas units to give the car a soft, absorbent ride. In simple terms, it allowed the Princess to breathe over poor British roads rather than crash through them. That gave it a hidden advantage, especially on long motorway journeys or battered city streets where many conventional saloons felt busy and harsh. Some road testers compared its comfort with the sort of ride people associated with Citroën, which was high praise in the 1970s. But there was a trade-off. The same softness that made it relaxing could also make it lean and wallow when pushed hard. It was not a sports saloon, it was a lounge with number plates, the smooth 6 that couldn't hurry. The 2.2-litre 6-cylinder Princess had one quality that suited the car beautifully: smoothness. It made the big wedge feel calm, mature, and quietly expensive, especially compared with noisier 4-cylinder rivals. But there was a problem hiding beneath that refinement. A car shaped like a slice of the future created expectations it could not always meet. The six-cylinder engine was relaxed rather than urgent, better at cruising than chasing BMWs or Triumph Dolomites across an A road. That made the Princess strangely mismatched. Dramatic to look at, gentle to drive, the practical benefit was comfort, easy torque, and a more civilized character for long journeys. Yet emotionally, it fed one of the car's biggest myths. People expected the wedge to be sharp, but the Princess was built to soothe, not to attack. The diesel Princess built for taxi wars. Hidden in the Princess story is a curious experiment that sounds almost fictional. A diesel Princess aimed at the private hire and taxi market. British Leyland knew Ford had become dangerously strong in that world, so a small trial batch of diesel-powered Princess models was explored during the late 1970s. The idea was simple. Take the car's huge cabin, soft ride, and comfortable rear seat, then add the economy taxi operators needed for long urban days. On paper, it made surprising sense. A Princess diesel could have been a roomy, distinctive alternative to the usual cortina-filled ranks outside stations and airports, but the plan never became a major production story. Its legacy was quieter and more technical, with lessons in sound insulation and refinement feeding back into later versions. It was another glimpse of a path the Princess nearly took, the car that became good too late. The saddest thing about the Princess is that it was not a hopeless car. Over time, it improved, especially with the Princess 2, revised engines and gradual detail changes that made it more usable and more refined. The problem was that its reputation had already been wounded. Early quality worries, strikes at British Leyland, confused branding, and the missing hatchback had created a story stronger than the car itself. By the time the Princess was genuinely more sorted, many buyers had already made up their minds. That is what makes it so compelling today. It was not a simple failure, but a car full of good ideas released into the wrong storm. Its wedge shape predicted the future. Its comfort was real, and its practicality was nearly brilliant. The Princess became part of British motoring history because it was flawed, fascinating, and painfully close to being right. The Leyland Princess was not just a flawed British saloon, it was a bold, comfortable, futuristic idea caught inside one of the most chaotic periods in UK motoring history. Its wedge shape, missing hatchback, floating ride, and troubled reputation made it both a disappointment and a cult classic. Click to watch more stories about forgotten classic British cars. Like, subscribe, and tell us what you think in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.